Now. Over to you, Isaac.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And everyone who's joined us so far, thank you for joining us today. It's going to be a little bit of a different session, but we have a wonderful speaker here with us, Bob Galen. If you've heard him or encountered him, you know that we're going to be in for a treat today. Let me kick off our conversation and introducing Bob by way of saying I had the pleasure of being at an open space gathering with him early last year where we started having this conversation in a session. We were in an open space session, and he asked the question, "What about self-care?" And for me, it was something that I had been a massive advocate of. This is, everyone needs to self-care. You need to self-care. You need to self-care. You need to self-care. And Bob held up a mirror and said, what about us as agile coaches? Are we taking care of ourselves? And I realized, wow, I've never actually thought of that. This was a new thought to me because I'm so busy telling everyone else to self-care. And so, Bob, I just want to say you really, since that time, you started a journey for me of looking into how am I taking care of myself and am I doing the things that maybe I should do. And so us having the chance to broaden this conversation, and I know you'll introduce your session here, but it'll be a little more open to people adding their thoughts and feelings, us having a conversation. I'm just so thankful that you're here to spur more people to hopefully have that experience that you helped me have. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be just having a conversation with Bob here today. He's going to kind of lead it. There are several of us co-hosts from Coaching Agile Journeys who will be here to help facilitate that. Please do give us a shout out in the chat if you haven't already to say hi. And with that, Bob, we'll just kick it over to you and let you kind of start us off here.
Sounds great. Thank you. Thank you all for inviting me. I really appreciate it, Isaac and Heidi and Kristen and everyone, and John and Rahul for inviting me. I guess I wanted just to create a conversation, like Isaac said, everyone. So to talk about self-care, maybe I'll start it with sharing my genesis for where I became passionate about self-care. And what I want you to do is put questions or themes or your own personal experiences in chat. I think we have LinkedIn chat and Zoom chat, and folks will be monitoring those and they can bring it up. So while I'm talking, don't just listen. Think about what you want to contribute, okay? And so we can guide this fireside chat thing. Maybe 3 years ago, I was I am an agile coach, and I do a lot of public speaking, and I run around doing I do a lot of conference events, and I do a lot of coaching, or I was doing quite a bit of travel, and I was almost on the road every week. And I have a tendency to get enthusiastic about agile, and so I oversubscribe myself. Not that any of you would ever do that, but I would overcommit myself. I think the most conferences, I think one time I did 4 conference speaking gigs in a week. So I was flying to different cities and doing that. In my infinite wisdom, it sounds good at the time when I'm scheduling it, but then when you're actually living it and it's kicking your butt, it doesn't feel as good. So I was doing that that was just my mode of operation. And I had a mini stroke, what people call, I had a stroke event. And it scared the crap out of me. Actually, I went to the emergency room. I couldn't walk. I couldn't actually. I'm leaning. I'm actually registering, and my wife is holding me up against the wall so that I didn't fall down. And I went into the emergency room, and then they admitted me and all of this stuff. And it sort of caused me. If you have one of those moments where you start praying more to whoever you hold dear in the universe, and I was doing that, and please give me a second chance. So you start negotiating, and it's like, please, I'll do more agile coaching, but I'll charge less or whatever. And I got through it okay, but it really caused me to think about what I was doing. I immediately dropped some volunteer stuff I was doing. I remember 6 weeks after that, I went to the Agile conference. So 6 weeks after my stroke, I traveled to California, and I had traveled too soon. So I didn't have another event, but I I suffered from the symptoms again, and I had to have an emergency flight back home. And it really caused me to again to reevaluate my ramp up. So I started becoming very sensitive to self-care, and I started studying it a little bit. I started applying it. I started realizing. I started thinking about other coaches. I observed, we talk a good game. So one of my observations, not any of you, I'm sure all of you are very well balanced, but other people in the universe, we always talk about people, taking care of themselves or servant leadership. And to me, self-care is we forget that we have to serve ourselves first. It's that old metaphor of you have to put the oxygen mask on first before we start taking care of other people. And I found that very few coaches do that. So I'm not trying to push it, but I'm really trying to actually get everyone to reflect. I'd like all of you to self-reflect on what are you doing to take care of yourself? How balanced are you? And it's really a personal thing. One of the things I noticed is my stress levels were related to my stroke. And so I really have to sort of keep myself de-stressed. So I've started doing, some meditation, and that's really helped me. And I need to have a quiet break very frequently. I need to just stop and have a quiet break to recharge my battery. Otherwise, I'll get into workaholic mode, and I'll increase my stress levels. And I can actually feel some of my stroke symptoms coming back if I'm not balancing enough. So it's something that I have to be, my body actually so my body used to not tell me. Now my body sort of tells me, but you don't want your body telling you stuff. You want to sort of be ahead of it. So that's my Genesis story. I'm still alive and kicking, so don't worry about me. I'm not stressed out during this webinar, so I'm not going to flop over or need to lean against a wall or anything like that. So don't worry, I'm fine. But is there anyone want to explore self-care? Any stories or any journey we want to take?
One thing that has helped me actually is to take a pause in the morning and kind of write down some of my thoughts for the day and what I'm grateful for that day, and then think about what I want to accomplish that day.
Gratitude, Heidi. Thanks for sharing that. I found, let me get something up. I'll share this with everyone. I have this actually on I journal, and I have an electronic journal, and I just worked on this the other day, so I'll share this with everyone. I'll just read it. I won't necessarily show you, but I said every day wake up and ask yourself, and then I have a list of asks yourself, and and ask yourself, who am I standing on the shoulders of, and acknowledge them. Ask yourself, what difference will I make today, and make it. Ask yourself, what am I grateful for today, and celebrate it. Ask yourself, what do I dream of accomplishing tomorrow, and take a step towards it. Ask yourself, who can I hug, in person or virtually, then hug them. Ask yourself, I know this is schmaltzy, everyone, so please don't think less of me, but this is something that I'm waking up to. Heidi, you inspired me to be vulnerable. Ask yourself, what can I unlearn today, then unlearn it. Ask yourself, who can I help today, then help them. Ask yourself, what can I do to be kind to myself today, then be kind. And ask yourself, what one thing do I need to do today, then do it. Just one thing. I don't know if that meant anything to everyone, but really have like a check that, I guess the reflection, Heidi, if you know what I mean. It's sort of the quiet reflection, and then taking some simple actions each day really sort of grounds me or stabilizes me in my foundation.
Yeah, I read
And
one time that you can't feel gratitude and stressed at the same time. So if you're feeling stressed, try to pause and feel some gratitude. That really helped me feel the why for this gratitude process.
would everyone want me to, I could probably easily cut and paste them into the chat box. Would that be of interest to everyone? I think I can do
That'd be
that.
good. Thanks, Bob.
I would love that.
We have an interesting question in the chat as well from Pedram. Which aspect of health, physical, mental, or social, is most ignored?
Oh, I don't know. Again, I'm not an expert. Um, I, what I'm finding in my self-care journey is that it's unique. So I would say my reaction would be don't look at the universe and don't read a book. I'm just kidding around a little bit, but what I'm saying is what I've found is like what helps me. I have to find what helps me. Like right now, everyone, this is a weird thing, but I have a candle burning right now. I don't know if you can see my candle, and it's a scented candle, and it's got essential oils in it, which is sort of silly. I would have never, I considered, essential oils as being hubbub before, but now I burn it in times just to keep me calm. Now I doubt whether that would work for everyone. And actually my scent is pine. I like forest. So so what works for me actually is pine trees. Believe it or not, that works really well for me. So my point is, I think what I would do, one of the first things I would do in your self-care journey is reflect and just analyze yourself and look back and say, what calms me? What settles me? There's an analogy. Think of yourself as a battery. I know it's sort of a weird metaphor, but think of you as a battery that's getting charged. So in your journal, if you have a journal, draw a battery and keep track of like what energizes you, or what gives you sort of peacefulness, and then what takes away your energy, and what kinds of things stabilize your energy. So think in terms of plus, neutral, minus, and just track some of those activities. And then what I would say is do more pluses over time. So as a metaphor, fill your battery up. And what I'm trying to say is I think that recipe is unique per person. Now there are some patterns. For example, a lot of people like walking in nature, right? A lot of people like walking outside and walking in nature. But then my walking in nature is like, a 25th of a mile, and Joy Schwab's walking in nature is like 20 miles or something like that. So so even then distance is different. So there would be some commonality, but I would say find yours. Look for the commonality. Some people like exercise. I'm not an exerciser. The most exercise I do is walking. Walking is good for me, but I don't run. Some people, reading really recharges my batteries. So if I go and I read something quietly, if I give myself some quiet space and 30 minutes in a book, I'm just totally recharged and totally refreshed. But I'm an introvert as well. So I think find your recipe would be my answer. Does that resonate with people? I'm looking at faces and seeing if that resonates. Right. So of course, there's patterns out there, like eat well, but just find what works for you.
Right. If I can kind of say, Bob, that resonates with me massively. I think it's about being authentic with yourself, and what you need is different. When we say, people say it all the time, wear that oxygen mask, put on that oxygen mask first, but they literally don't do it because they don't know what they need to sustain themselves. TA talks about three things: autonomy, spontaneity, and connection. But the mix of what you want for you is totally unique, and you need to find out what you need for yourself first. But it's quite tricky, I guess, for coaches and scrum masters who, over the years, have maybe thought of themselves as servant leaders and discounted their own needs in replace for other people, and not given their needs the credence that they really do deserve to be effective.
I thank you. I mean, John, you're nailing it. I really love that part of the conversation. I would recommend to everyone to be sort of pre-self-care, to be so think of yourself as a reflection artist, where you're constantly forcing / encouraging yourself, or giving yourself the space to the quiet time to reflect That's what I meant by the battery. So give yourself the time, and I'm bullish on journaling, like writing and scribbling things down, just really helps me. But whatever it takes, so reflect and then discover as coaches. I mean, I think there's the lost art of reflection. And then part of your reflection is thinking about how am I taking care of myself and what can I do to like observe what's going on around you,
When
and then do something about it. Go ahead.
when it comes to reflection, it reminds me of something I always do in a wrong way, even if I know how to do it. Because, as you know, as Scrum Masters, Agile Coaches, and so on, we have a look on ourselves which is pretty critical, I think. And so, yeah. And so I can really recommend to ask for feedback. And oftenly I get very surprised about the feedback because it is totally different and not as critical and not as negative as I thought that I act or said something or did something and so on. Because mostly if I thought it is negative, it's always positive. So ask directly for feedback in your teams, your devs, your POs, your managers, product managers, and so on and so on. You will get very surprised.
Oh, absolutely. That was Maxie. Thank you for that. One thing I want to sort of say yes and Maxie, you just inspired me. Another thing, you can tell that I have too much time to think. Now that I'm doing self-care, I have way too much time to actually, I have to keep my brain busy. So one of the things about feedback is think about what wasn't said. So Maxie, you were talking about the direct feedback. I actually think another feedback channel. So think of feedback as being on multiple channels. So body language is giving you feedback, language is giving you feedback, you're getting it from different people. But what haven't you heard? So like the lack of feedback is feedback, if that makes sense. So John, if you haven't heard, something like, you're reflecting too much, well, then maybe you're not reflecting at all or whatever. So think about what you're not hearing from folks. Like if you're not hearing speed up, or if you're not hearing, sort of increase your whip limit, maybe you have too much whip limit. Maybe that's even telling you something. One of the things I was doing, I think I can share this with everyone if you have a second. Um, is speaking of whip limits, just hold on a second. I have this thing up here and I think I can share it. It'll just take me a second, I promise everyone. There it is. And I put together, when I was talking about this, I put together this self-care whip limit. I hope you can see it. And I used like a whip limit check as something that would resonate with coaches. And I put together this artificial, like red, yellow, green, and to evaluate your whip limit. And you could characterize it, could be work whip limit, it could be writing. Like I write a lot of stuff, articles and things, and so I can exceed my whip limit, which stresses me out and I need to slow down to speed up. But lots of parallel work is read, like the overarching feeling that you're a race car about to go off the road and crash. And I know that sounds very agile, right? That sounds like sometimes agile is sort of dangerous because we talk about emergent this, and the term agile can be perceived as being very frenetic. Or looking at overarching feeling in moderate, some good days, some chaotic days, progress is slow. Low is the overarching feeling like you're challenged and tired but focused and energized. So you could another way to evaluate sort of your self-care would be looking at how am I managing my personal whip, and this is personal whip. And I put this together and I have this little handout. And what was my whip yesterday? So historically look back, what's more interesting than your whip today is how are you trending? Everyone know, you're all coaches, so you know that trending trumps individual data points. So sort of think back, like, what is my year in review? And if I don't change anything, am I going to repeat that? And do I actually want to maintain the WIP limit at that level? I've actually managed WIP limit as a burn up chart or a burn down chart in my journal. And I usually sample it like on a weekly basis. This is a very low fidelity way of just thinking about how am I tracking? Am I biting off too much or not? So I'm going to stop sharing that. I don't know if that resonated with anyone, and I can share that file with folks then later on.
There were several in the chat who asked if they could get a PDF of that, and I'll just say it definitely resonated a lot with me, and I saw a lot of heads nodding too. So,
yeah. Notice Omar had his hand up. I don't know whether he wants to ask a question or make a point.
Yes. I was just going to ask. Hey, Bob, Omar. I just wanted to ask.
Hi, Omar.
How are you? I know we talked to you every week last week. I just wanted to see if you were able to share that, and you already said you would. So perfect. Excellent.
Cool. Any other questions? I'm going to just attach that or try to attach that in the chat if I can.
I'd like to share something that the best experience I had with my manager is when I basically managed up to say, hey, I'm working on too many things. None of them are getting done, right? Can we agree on the priorities? And, can we drop these 3 things at the bottom, right? They're clearly not that important. And, my life will be better. Our stakeholders will have better, manage expectations. He's like, I've never actually thought about it that way. So I think it helps too if you manage your WIP and you communicate those expectations. I just manage the expectations onto the process of managing your WIP.
Absolutely, Tiffany. Everyone, I don't know in Zoom, I don't know if I can attach, I can only go to certain sources for a file. So what I'll do is I'll send it, and we'll send it out to people who registered after this. But Tiffany, I was going to, what was I going to say? Oh, remember my Genesis moment, that stroke event? It really, one of the side effects, and you allude to it, it really forced me to reevaluate priority and to really effectively communicate. Like I dropped a lot of stuff, but there were things that I scaled back on. Like I didn't want to drop all my clients, right? So I needed some revenue. So but how did it forced me to really be thoughtful and articulate and courageous and take risks with navigating with my clients and things like that. And I could do that before, but it really made me sharper in doing that. And I had to, but I got more skilled at it. The other thing I noticed is they really sort of responded to it and respected. I was worried about negative sort of reactions from clients and things, and they were really supportive of my health. And I think a lot of folks don't really see it that way. You look at it as a risk or something, as opposed to it can be a very powerful event when you're scaling back.
Well, and I bet it serves as a good model, right, for the clients. They probably could use the same skills.
Exactly.
I feel like
go ahead.
I just wanted to add, Bob, like it seems like mindfulness plus reflection, a few pinches of courage all mixed up in a bowl, right, is really like what we need here to be able to have that honest conversation, first with ourselves and then with others, to say, where am I at? What are we doing? Because, this role has so many ebbs and flows, right? And it's easy to like have that negativity or the challenge or like those overwhelming feelings like get attached and like stuck to you, right? So how do you process those to say, okay, the transparency, inspection, and adaptation that I'm preaching, I also have to take that medicine myself.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, one of the things I would encourage everyone outside of self-care, and it's under reflection, is really get quiet, maybe sample it over maybe you want to drink a beer or your favorite beverage, but get quiet and really evaluate and be honest with yourself. Look in the mirror and say, am I walking my talk? as a coach? Am I walking, and be even more specific than that, am I walking my talk from a WIP perspective? Am I walking my talk from a principles perspective? Am I walking my talk? And really then evaluate that. And I find like I've gotten much more sensitive about, am I modeling the stuff that I'm talking about? And I find that I haven't been. And not that you need to be perfect with it, but really getting centered on how agile am I being? Like, how agile am I showing up, as opposed to the coaching side? And I think, and then the self-care wraps under that really nicely, I think. But I actually would have the meta view of, are you walking your talk? And really, and that becomes part of your continuous improvement, like your game plan for improving or working on yourself. Like, where am I improving? Under what conditions do I not walk my talk? And how do I improve in that area? I was going to tee something up for everyone, and this is more for discussion. I put together, and I'll share this with everyone later, I put together an Agile coaching canvas. And to be honest, one of the reasons I did it is because everything has a canvas nowadays. When when I wake up in the morning, I have to fill out my wake Bob Galen up canvas, right? And then I, when I put myself to bed at night, I have to fill out the canvas, etc. Or someone has to fill. my caregiver fills it out before they tuck me into bed. But I wanted to share the areas of my canvas with you. So, and I don't know, they might be helpful, and it worked for me. So I have the ecosystem. How are you operating, and what's the environment? So be thoughtful about think of the place where you are, the ecosystem that surrounds you, which would be your work, your profession, also your family life. I have an area about goals. What are and having self-care goals and being very specific about WIP and focus. So I would suggest that you establish some self-care goals for yourself. That's actually right in the middle of the canvas. Someone was mentioning mindfulness. I have a mindfulness area, the quiet reflection, observations, experiments, and your spider sense, that little voice inside of you that tells you. All of us have a little voice that's, well, and mine is probably louder than most and a little bit crazier, but we have a little voice. And are you listening to your little voice? Like, mine was saying slow down many years before my body told me to slow down, and I just listened. Now I'm starting to listen to my spider sense. I call it my spider sense. Energy. What are your opportunities for recharging your battery? Remember that battery metaphor I talked about? That's an area that I think is important. There's a wonderful article. I actually discovered that metaphor from someone else, and I'll share that with everyone as well. At the bottom, partners. I haven't talked about it, but I think part of self-care is not going it alone. Actually, it was really important to me to have people that care. And sometimes when you have an event like that, you find out who cares about you and who doesn't. And they're really the important partners for you. So I have a partners area which talks about mentors, pairing partners. Like, I've gotten more interested in pair coaching. One reason, because I learn, but the other reason is it de-stresses me. I'm not in it. Like, I have more stress, and I'm a competent coach, don't get me wrong, but it's just I'm not on all the time, right? It's nice to have a partner that I can actually, like, shut up and just calm down and not pay attention for a few minutes while someone else has the ball. And then your role models is another thing, is finding your role models. So that's the partners for me. And I actually shifted that pretty significantly in the last few years. And then your growth and learning. What areas should you focus on next? I, for example, went to ORSC coach training, and I'm on the path to become an ORSC certified coach. And this was all after that event. And so I didn't stop. I'm reinventing myself, and I find that reinventing myself in areas that are more important to me is helping me manage my self-care and manage me walking my talk. So I just thought any I don't know if there's any reactions to that. I'm hoping that a couple people talk while I take a breath. Anyone?
Yeah, so I
My
wanted to say
daughter's
that,
here and she can talk as well. I noticed my daughter's online, so she could say something or not. Who was that? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, so I said the thing that resonated most from what you said now is that I think if you have a coach that you can hold yourself accountable to, all the rest is less important, because it's really easy to put lists and checklists and advice and all of this, but I think that you least observe them when you most need them. And to have a periodic time where you can talk to someone and they challenge you on, in fact, what's your WIP limit? And you say, you know what, I said that I'll do it, but I didn't do it, is a good chance for you to be accountable for your decisions.
I would buy that though. I'm going to do a +1 or a yes and though. I'm going to say we're all coaches, so I, there's value in the external coaching, but coach yourself as well. So what I'm really saying is we're all coaches for God's sake. So I'm doing a better job of holding myself accountable, but I do need that. It is useful for me to have a coach. I actually have multiple coaches, but we can coach ourselves. And so think of it as, am I being coached? Oh, the other thing, Dove, you've inspired me, is so many coaches. So when I talked about reflecting on yourself and thinking about, are you walking your talk? Are you coachable? So ascertain, asking yourself, how coachable am I? And I'll be vulnerable. I'm not the easiest person to coach. I'm getting much better. Like, I wouldn't want to coach me. No one. I'm no, but I'm not the easiest. But improving your coachability, and by that accountability and coaching yourself, and then finding a partner. Thank you, Dove. I hope I didn't change your or twist your recommendation too much. I really love what you said.
Again, Bob, I'm quite excited about the subject of myself, but my observation around this is around Freud's shadow and projection. So the negatives, or the things you don't see, the things you see in others, which are not what you'd want, like negative things, are sort of facets of your internal persona that you don't see in yourself. So you project onto others the bad or the things you can't do. So yeah, a coach might enter a point where they enter a slippery slope where they're sort of seeing things on other people, but that means they're not coachable themselves. But it's that reflection, that self-reflection, that community, and holding the mirror up, but not in a forced way, but in a way that's natural to connect with yourself. So you're not projecting those things out on people around you. But that feels like the journey of a lifetime. That's bigger than coaching, and it's a journey that we're all on, I think, and I know I'm on it. But yeah, to see the positives in things and not project your internal. And if I think of something of someone else, I then wonder, well, to put in the mirror, what am I thinking about myself? What does that mean about how I'm thinking about the situation? And what does that mean in my mental model?
Absolutely. Anyone else?
I have to say
Something to add?
Yeah, to this
Go ahead.
is the my grandson Will stays here with me, and he always says to me, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I'm always running from meeting to meeting to meeting. And he's like, you have too many meetings. I don't have any meetings today. And, so it's kind of like, it takes that moment where you're just so focused on everything and you've got so much going on that it just takes that little voice to say to you, and they're like, right. So for myself, I normally never take lunch. I work through lunch and the whole thing just because I have so much to do. So I blocked out an hour of my day every day to stop, and when he's here, to play trucks with him or something, just to out of the norm of my day, to kind of get self-care for myself, to, kind of re-energize myself, or just go outside and go for a walk or something. But it's, it kind of took me by surprise when he said that to me, and it was just like, you're right, I do have too many meetings. So, but it's very
Wendell, thank you for sharing that. I want to say something to everyone too. When you're doing the self-care, Like if you're a coach meeting with the CEO and you have an entire day of C-level meetings and you're coaching an organizational transformation, that's all crucial. Everyone with me, that's important. That is the most important time that you could spend. All right, fantastic. What Wendell just talked about, playing with Legos and game characters with his grandson, if that's his example, that's equally a priority to anything else on your schedule. I want you all to jot that down. So it's not self-care. Self-care is not an afterthought. Self-care is one, before you do anything else, you need to take care of yourself. And what I found is it makes me a better coach. On the other side, right? It's making, I'm more effective. I may actually be more challenging or more obnoxious to a CEO or whatever, but so they may not think that I'm better, but I feel that I'm better, or I'm better balanced. What I'm getting at is never feel guilty about investing in yourself. Never feel like, oh, I'll just give myself 30. Try to eradicate that way of thinking. Like it's crucial to invest in yourself, and think about what message that sends. You're a walking role model to your teams. Think about, and to your clients. Think about what that says to them. So it's not just self-care. Are we modeling the behavior that's going to benefit the system around us? Are we messaging that? Wendell, I just wanted to amplify that. And you didn't make it sound that way. I'm just saying, that's a priority. Be proud. Talk about those damn Legos, man, or whatever it is, whatever the playfulness was. Man, it's like, yes, I played with my grandkids today. That was energizing. That was cool.
Hey, Bob.
Anyone else? Yeah. Hey.
Really appreciate the topic here and everybody's suggestions and feedback. And one thing I've started doing over the last couple of years is I started, I wouldn't call it avoiding, but I started cherry picking which group meeting I need to be at and where I add value. And I've seen my calendar opened up. If not 50%, I would say somewhere between 30 to 40% opened up, because I just do not accept meetings there where I may not add value. And a lot of time as a coaches, everybody feels I need to be there to give some feedback. One question I have to you or the rest of the group is, as we get better at self-managing or even understanding how to prioritize our work, how does the leadership or even co-worker accepts, because a lot of time we see individual we work with or even at leadership level, they're just burning themselves out, and maybe if they slowed down they would have had better result. How acceptable leadership or the co-workers are. One thing I'm challenging is, as I have improved my capacity or my self-management, I'm not able to transfer that into individual I work with.
I mean, one reaction I have, Tanzil, is I've been teaching classes lately, and I early on in my leadership, I teach a CAL leadership class, a certified Agile leadership class, and I admit very early in the class, I'm like, and I offer everyone a cash refund if they want to get out of the class, but I'm like, I've never made someone agile in my life, right? I can't make an individual agile. As a coach, I can't change someone. What I can do is, so maybe you have, or maybe some of you have, and maybe I suck, and you all are great, but I've never, like, to me, change, cultural change, individual change, it's an inside out job, and someone has to make that decision to do that. Now I can do a lot around them, like, for example, role modeling. So I would say one of the things you're doing, as long as you're being visible or transparent, is you're a walking, talking role model of work, of balance. Fine. You're showing them that, you're modeling that, you're walking your talk. I would actually challenge you. Maybe it is influencing some people around you. Maybe not the ones you're looking at, but maybe some people are being thoughtful. Maybe they're trying some things. I actually think that's about all you can do. I mean, you can share, you can share your lessons. You could do a talk like I'm doing here. But what I'm saying is every one of you has to take this information and you have to decide what you're going to do with it internally. And I think that's true of those folks. So my short answer is don't worry about it. My short answer is it doesn't matter, right? Walk your talk, and that's up to them to figure out if they want to be influenced by your role model. I think. Anyone? Any other reactions?
I'd agree.
Yeah.
I'd
Go ahead,
agree.
Dominic.
I think the
Dominic,
main.
go ahead.
Have you-
Dominic, go ahead.
I'd agree entirely. I think the most important thing when you're sitting there is being congruent to yourself. And the whole point about congruency is state, controlling your state, making sure you got a good state. And if you're going to become a coach, then I would always say, like, look at the soft skills, look at the linguistics. Make sure you're not speaking up here, because that's going to be non-congruent. Make sure you're speaking from your diaphragm. Make sure you're taking control of yourself, because that's the congruency. You know, when people talk about leadership, it's like walking in and demonstrating congruently how to be relaxed, how to be calm, how to be chill. You know, I do agile coaching and business coaching, things like I also coach, guys with alcohol and addiction problems. So I have to go into an environment and coach groups and individuals about how to get over major traumas in their lives. And if I walk in going, oh my God, they've gone through, that's no good. I've got to walk in with a calm, relaxed persona, and also to look at them and understand and see the beauty within them and go, I can see the beauty within them. I know they've got the capability within them. And my job is not to coach them. My job is to listen and to let them discover the thing I can see. That's it.
Absolutely. Tanzo, you said something that made me think about, I have a blog that I may have written or not. I'm trying to capture, it's pay attention to who you surround yourself with. Or I was in a class and someone said, who you surround yourself with says things about you. And it actually, as part of my self-care journey, and I was intentional, but I wasn't thinking of it this way until later. But I intentionally surrounded myself with people who cared about me. And I started dropping people so it wasn't just activities that drained me, it was people who drained me. I started being selective. Now, I'm not saying as an agile coach, you drop all of those clients around you. All right. But I was much more conscious about, like, just the people. I needed uplifting people. I needed people who blessed me, people who believed in me, people, right? I changed the mix. And I think that's part of the self-care. And I wasn't shy about dropping, so I didn't feel bad about dropping someone, Tanzo. Just like dropping 40%, 30% of my meetings, right? It wasn't personal. I was focusing on my self-care. And I probably dropped a significant percentage of people who were just not, they were drainers. All they were doing was taking energy from me. And I consciously started respectfully dropping those relationships.
This makes sense.
And again, that's part of that self-awareness or that reflection. Everyone, I would really ask you to reflect on, so it's what people are really giving the energy and what people are not giving, what people are really taking the energy, and they're consistently doing it, right? And just consistently, and it's just a drain. And really challenge yourself. Can I reframe things so that they become, they shift elsewhere?
The thing about energy taking is protect yourself. Remember, Starship shields up. That's the most important. Remember, you're the most important person in the relationship.
Yes. And again, I can't amplify enough. The modeling you're doing is influencing those around you too. So yes, you are, but what that's saying, that's reflecting to your teams and the individuals you're coaching. That's telling them that they're important as well. Not directly, but indirectly, and it matters.
When
Any other, go ahead.
What I learned in the last years when I was working as a Scrum Master and Agile coach is when it comes to retrospectives, it's often that I thought, and I also think that other persons feel the same way. I have to find the solution for the problems. It's me who have to find the solution. It's me who has to solve the problem, and so on and so on. But to be honest, it's not me. It's not the trainer, not the coach, not the Scrum Master who has to find the solution. It's more that the team has to find it. We help them how to find the solution by asking the right questions and stuff like this. And every time when I start a retrospectives and we come to action items, I have to say myself, it's not me who has to find the solution. It's a team. And how can I help the team to find the right solution? Maybe it helps, maybe not.
No, I think that was a wonderful comment, Maxie. One of the things I've learned from my ORS coaching journey is I've gotten much more, sort of insights into what professional coaching is. And professional coaching is you don't own, the client owns, you honor the wisdom, the skill, the awareness of the client. We're just there to help, right? And I'm a fixer. I actually have a poem on my wall that talks about, so historically I have an inner fixer where I want to fix everything. It goes back to my project manager roots. And it's just who I am. I'm wired that way, but I can compensate for my fixer. But the coaching has really helped me put my fixer on the back burner and I actually have it in a little jar. And nowadays I never let it out. And there's something freeing about that. Joseph Evangelista, you've had your hand up for a while. Did you have a comment?
Actually, I wanted to think about that same point. You just brought something about wanting to fix everything. And I think a lot of us, maybe for me, one of the things that I've always had in my life, and was coaching or leading, or even with pressure within myself, is striving to be perfect, trying to fix absolutely everything that's out there. I'm going to be the one to be I'm going to be the savior. I'll do that. And one of the things that's helped me with controlling that impulse is actually, first of all, I've been practicing yoga for almost 5.5 years, almost 6 years now. And one of the things that it has done for me is that it's allowed me to accept the fact that I can't be perfect. Accept who you are at the moment, rather than it's instead of being the right thing, the best thing, or for example, in this case, the best coach you can be, trying to save the team and understanding, and taking a step back and understanding that sometimes everyone can't be perfect. So it's in a way accepting the circumstances and the people you're with, and working with them to help them not necessarily be the absolutely best they can be at every single moment, but be able to learn how to reflect and take stock of what they have now and appreciate what they have now. So it will help them become a much fuller and a much more functioning team, since they now accept who they are and being able to move the team forward.
I love that comment, Joseph. Thank you. And when you initially identified as a fixer, I wanted to give you a hug. It's like fixer to fixer. I was like, hey, yes, I'm a perfectionist. And again, it's like, how do we move? How do we move from that? Any other, we're coming up at like 10 minutes to the top of the hour. So any other comments or stories or anything from anyone?
Bob, I might just jump in, because this has all been wonderful, and we've had some great techniques, and we've actually dug into a lot of the underlying thinking. And I wonder if maybe you could spend just a second, and other people might add too. I know for myself, I understand this. I understand it deep in my soul, but yet I also find I struggle with the doing. And we've talked about ideas, pay yourself first was mentioned, and all those things. Is there anything for the person who gets it mentally, but still struggles with the actually making it happen? Can you maybe give us some advice or some direction, and others may share as well in the chat, but on how to take this theory and make it into practice? Because that's where we're going to see the value. Just understanding self-care, right? That doesn't, we have to put it into practice. So do you have any recommendations for that?
I have an incredible checklist that I'll share with everyone, and it has one item on it, and it's you are your most valuable possession, and so take care of you and suck it up. You all understand prioritization. All of you coaches, you all understand freaking prioritization. You all understand I mean, and Isaac, I appreciate you talking about this is not an academic problem versus a tactical problem. Everyone, I want you to talk to someone in chat, get an accountability partner, and just do it. So my advice is just do it because it's freaking important. Otherwise, you'll end up like me. You'll be leaning up against, I'm kidding around, but you'll lean up against a room in an emergency or something. And I'm not threatening you with that. What I'm saying, it just matters. And like, if you all can prioritize, coaching events. You can all prioritize your schedules. You can all prioritize who you're coaching, right? So you can physically do it. You are just not prioritizing yourself. Well, WTF? I don't understand that, right? If you can go through the activities, I'm sure if your client is overworked, I'm sure you can have this discussion like I've had today with a client. You can provide them with textbooks. So Isaac, I think it's a crucial question, but I just think it's a just do it. Just take it, just start. Now, the one thing I would add is make it a habit. Everyone with me? So I think it starts with so it's hard for people to make themselves a habit. So I couple my self-care with my journaling. I journal every day, and I look at my self-care every day as part of my journaling. I get up early, so around 5 a.m., 6 a.m. every morning, I'm thinking about my day. I'm thinking about journaling, and so it sort of evolves from that. So what I would recommend is trying to make it a habit. Joseph talked about doing yoga. That would be perfectly, it would merge into his yoga schedule or whatever. Fit it into your schedule and work on making self-care, not so much the activity, but planning the activity. What am I going to do today to take care of myself? What am I going to do tomorrow to take care of myself? Make it a habit. I think 2 or 3 weeks, if you really commit, and you'll just make it a micro habit. But again, I wouldn't get caught up in the books and all of that stuff and checklists. You all have to commit to yourselves. My gosh, right? Who is the most, if you are a brand and you are a coaching entity, you're a business, you need to invest in yourself first. So do that.
Hey, Bob, I had an aha moment recently that helped me do this. I was going through career conversations with my team, and one of the questions, it's borrowed from Radical Candor, was, what does your best year look like? And I like that because it's not about like the title or whatever. Mm-hmm. And for me, my best year is a year where I can allocate time to writing, and I could write something that's impactful. And I was like, why am I not doing that? Like every day I'm helping everybody do their thing. So I actually started getting up at 5 a.m, and I dedicate the first 2 hours of my day to writing. So that's myself, right? Like that's the thing that works for me, but sort of putting it in a purpose that's bigger was helpful.
But that was, and that's perfect, Kristen. Mm-hmm. Everyone, I mean, you're bigger than anything else. Your families are counting on you. You're counting on you. So bigger purpose, mm-hmm. micro habits, find something. What I liked about Kristen, I resonate with the writing. Writing mm-hmm. gives me such joy. Writing gives me clarity. I actually don't care if anyone reads my writing. Mm-hmm. It just helps me clarify things, and it really gives me energy. And that's the primary reason so find what gives you your self-care bliss and then just do it. But damn it, stop whining about it. Stop prioritizing other crap. Just do something. Come on. All right. Thank you, Isaac, for that.
Can I plus one that, Bob, for Isaac? Yeah. So Isaac, like Bob said, routines. I'm up every day at 4:30 so I can do my workout. I have 2 kids, 2 younger kids. One goes to preschool, one does homeschool. So I got to help out in the morning. before I go to work, and then at the end take care of them. At the end of the day, spend time with the wife. So make sure, I think I posted earlier the Eisenhower matrix. Priority one, yourself. If your health is not good, everything else is going to fail. Number two priority is family. Take care of your wife, take care of your kids. Number three is work, because if you don't work, you can't pay your bills and you can't feed your family, and everything else kind of falls off. So in my example, I get up extra early, take care of all of that. But what did I give up? I don't watch many TV shows anymore. Like, I know a lot of people are like, oh, I watched 4 seasons of Breaking Bad this weekend. I'm like, how do you have so much time? I don't get it. Like, I'll save that for the weekend. If you want to watch a movie or a show, do it in like smaller, manageable bits. Don't binge, because it's just not worth it in my opinion. But that's kind of like, build those routines. So like at first, second, or third week, it's hard, it sucks, but then it's just routine. Like, I get up automatically. I don't even need an alarm clock anymore. My body just wakes up. Go take care of, pay yourself first, work out, take care of family, go to work, take care of family, spend time with the wife, go to bed, repeat.
I do think Dove, real quickly, Dove did say something. So this notion of an accountability partner, like your coach or a mentor or a mentor. And remember, I talked about, your partners. So your partners can help. So find not 20 of them, but find one or two partners who you're working with that can really be there for you to help you in this process. So don't go it alone. Is
And
the
in
point
fact,
there?
while you're talking, I see in the chat that a lot of people propose or search for a partner, say, hey, I'm up to it if someone wants it, which is great.
Exactly.
And just
I mean,
on that point, one
go
thing I
ahead,
did,
Isaac.
just so everybody knows, we do have a Coaching Agile Journeys group on LinkedIn. We have a page, but we also have a group. And I went ahead and created a post for this topic that said, hey, if you're looking for someone to pair up with as an accountability partner, you can use that. If you know people here or you have your own LinkedIn network, that's another way. But I just wanted to note to everybody, I put the link to that post in the chat. You're welcome to jump in there and say, hey, I'd like to pair with someone, and self-organize, but find someone to pair with to carry on this conversation.
I think another thing that was a bit more popular back in the day, it was coaching circles, having a group of people that would get together. It's just one-on-one, 3 or 4 people that get together and sort of can just come together and privately share. It was mentioned in the chat earlier about supervision. It's not supervision, but it's a form of self-care, and it's holding each other to account. It's making space and time for that. And I do think it's super important. There's lots of things available, lots of different things you can do online and various things. But yeah, finding people. Sort of one thing came up to me a few weeks ago is kind of the courage aspect, and community needs courage almost. You need a community to have courage to say things to each other and be courageous on yourself, and then understand what you need to do about yourself. And I think, yeah, you can probably do it on your own. I do a lot of work on my own, but I think my best work with myself is with other people, which is weird.
Or put it another way, if you're a good coach, you understand the benefit of coaching. So the best thing to do then is to go and get coached and use the support of coaches. So I've got lots of different coaches from different aspects that I coach with for different things that I do. And as I say to anybody, if anybody wants that, then by all means, drop me an email.
So I would like to do something just for me. This is the price of admission, because I did this for free, but now I want to charge everyone for just a second. I'd like everyone who's comfortable to go cameras on. And I would like you to just give me a thumb up if you're going to take some action related to this. Don't fake it. So don't tell, I don't need down, but I'm just going to scroll and see how many thumbs up there are. So I don't care what the action is, but do something for God's sake. So let me see. Do we have some things out there? Oh, there's some thumbage. Oh my God, you all are making my day. A thumbage, electronic thumbage. I'll take electronic thumbage. All right, cool. Thank you, everyone. Yeah. Just start with something. Start, because you matter. Isaac, I think I'm done here. My work is done here.
I think that's awesome. And I will just say, though, as we were talking about coaching circles, that reminded me before we kicked off, Bob, that you've got a coaching circle, the Moose Herd as well, that agile-moose.com, is that right? Where you have a coaching circle and people gather, they can gather there too?
They can, if you can wait. Yeah, it's Agile-Moose. If you go to that website.com, I have a Lean Coffee, a Herd, a safe place, like a coaching circle that meets twice a week. And I would welcome people to check it out.
All right. Well, listen, everybody, what we've got from here, thank you so much for number one, Bob, for having this conversation, facilitating it with all of us. Everyone who stayed on, thank you. I will be saving the chat. You can save it. There's a lot of great conversation in the chat today. I'll be sending that out along with Bob's going to share a file with me. I'll get that sent out to everybody who registered in Eventbrite. If you don't get it, you can reach out to myself or Bob directly on LinkedIn, but I'll be sending an email to everybody on Eventbrite with a link to download that. So
thank you, everyone.
Can
I just
for your
make one suggestion before we
John,
go? I was just thinking, can we maybe do a cheesy kind of thumbs up smiley photo? But if you don't want to be in it, turn your cameras off now. If you want to be it, turn it on, and we'll just Photoshop it into a square, if that makes sense. So if people want to, turn your cameras on. If you don't want to, don't turn your camera on. But yeah, I'm going to go 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Cheesy, 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 cheesy. I'll do a load of screenshots. Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome, John. Thank you for that. Thank you, everybody. Again, the recording we'll have on coachingagilejourneys.com. We'll see you at a future event. Have a great day. Stay safe, everyone. We'll see y'all next time. Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you,
Thanks,
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Isaac, do you want to stay on, man?
Sure. Yep. I'll stay on.
And anyone else?
Yeah. Hello. Hello, John. Great to see you.
Hi, man. Good to see you.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm good.
Hi, Amani.
You did the countdown. Well done. I'm proud of you.
I know. I normally don't do countdowns. Yeah, I'm going to share that. It looks amazing, that photo, Isaac. I was just saying, but
so glad you thought it like that. That's such a good idea, and we need to do that, right? To say, hey,
yeah,
here's us gathering, and so I'm so glad you thought of that. That's awesome.
Okay, cool. That was all, man. But yeah, I can. Yeah, you better shut the call down. Or you? What's the plan?
Yeah, I'm gonna hit end. I'm just making sure I've saved the latest version of the chat, and then I'm gonna hit end the recording. And so
you're gonna have to edit the end of this one. But yeah, good
I'll
to see you. Good to meet you, Alberto, and good to talk to you earlier today. Okay,
good to see everybody.
See you. Bye.
Bye, guys.
See you, everyone. Good night, all.